Hello and welcome to Brands Hatch for the first round of the British Pickup Racing Championship. It's going to be exciting from start to finish this weekend, and that's just the qualifying. So we're down with Charlie Weaver on pole position. Charlie, is this first race going to be quite a tough one for you from pole?
Yeah, I think so. We had a few problems in qualifying yesterday with the brakes and the throttle, so we didn't get lap times we were expecting, so I think it'll be quite hard for pole today. I don't know what I was expecting from the track this morning.
Now this new format, obviously, it's going to make things very interesting out on the circuit. Are you well prepared?
Yeah, we've been getting ready all year for it. You know, with the reverse grid system, it's pretty tough, but you're only racing around the people at the same time as you, so we'll give it the best shot.
Alongside James Goldstraw on the grid as well. James, front row of the grid, Charlie just in front of you. It's going to be a tough one, isn't it?
It's going to be a bit hectic at the start, yeah.
In terms of the wheel-to-wheel out there on track, are you going to go aggressive earlier on, or are you going to see how the race pans out?
I'll just try and keep my foot in at the start and then see how the race pans out, yeah. Try and keep the position.
Okay, sir, well, have a good one out there.
Cheers.
So a little further back on row 2, we find Neil Tressler. Neil, the first race here at Brands Hatch, are you up for it?
Yeah, we're up for it with a new 2.3 Vauxhall engine. I think it's going to go well against the Fords this year, sort of thing, so we're hoping to be in the top 5 by the end of the meeting.
And how have the team been preparing the car? Has it been tough work for them?
Yeah, it's been a bit tough, sort of thing, because we started out with the Ford back end of last year, which didn't go well for us, sort of thing, so we swapped back to Vauxhall. It's been a bit of a struggle, but we got there eventually, sort of thing.
So are you going to be heavy on the attack at Paddock Hill Bend, or are you going to see how the race pans out?
Probably just wait for a couple of laps, see how it goes, and then see where we push on from there, sort of thing, really.
Okay, well, good luck, Neil.
Thank you.
So a little further down the grid with Michael Smith. Michael, going into this race, is it going to be quite a tough one from 7th on the grid?
Yeah, I think so. I think every race is a tough race in the pickup, so we did qualifying yesterday, we got second, so the car's running well. We did a few other races to see if we can get them a bit quicker, and hopefully we can come through the pack and maybe try and get on the podium if we can.
Now at this early point in the season, are you going for the points, or are you trying to get the race victories in there early?
A bit of both, really. It's nice to win, but you need to keep points and finish, so just keep it on the black stuff, really, and finish the race in a good position, really, is the main thing.
Okay, well, hopefully there's a good weekend out there. Enjoy race 1.
Right, thank you.
Well, the pickup trucks are nearly ready for battle. When those lights go out, the racing will kick off. Over to Richard for the grid.
Blue skies, a little bit of sunshine and a very big crowd. An ideal recipe for the first round of the 2013 Pickup Truck Racing Championship here at Brands Hatch. A partially reversed grid. The fastest driver from qualifying starting 10th. Pole position Charlie Weaver, then James Goldstraw, Paul Jones and Neil Tressler row 2, Anthony Hawkins and Pete Stevens row 3, followed by Michael Smith and David O'Regan, Dave Weaver and Paul Poulter, then Paul Tompkins and Lee Rogers. The grid completed by Phil White and Mel Collins. The drivers at the back, normally ones who have broken gearbox seals, replaced gearbox, or maybe replaced a standard part on the trucks. And if you break a seal, you have to go to the back of the grid. But it's a reverse grid race, therefore we're looking at the top 10 reversed. So the drivers on the front row, 10th and 9th respectively. James Goldstraw on pole. Here's Neil Tressler, I think his first race in the 2.3 litre engine. Look at Paul Jones in blue already, thinking about having a nip down the inside. They're not across the line yet, they are now. Away we go for 16 laps of superb pickup truck racing here at Brands Hatch. Goldstraw round the outside, on board with Neil Tressler. That's Pete Stevens in the Surtec number 4 truck, trying to come up the inside as they come up to Druids for the first time. It's Charlie Weaver who's in front. So Charlie Weaver's in front, coming down the hill, Graham Hill Bend, into Cooper Straight. Contact on James Goldstraw. Well, Anthony Hawkins backed out of that. The white truck was making contact with him, but he backed out of it. Oh, look at that clash. Paul Poulter in 74, side by side with Neil Tressler. The Wizard embroidery truck getting involved. Poulter taking no prisoners. He tries to go through. We're on board with the Irishman David O'Regan, one of the top seeds this year in the championship, one of the top scoring returning drivers from last year, along with Paul Tompkins, who we probably need to keep an eye out for. 93 is Michael Smith on the inside. Anthony Hawkins just out of shot, goes into second place. So Michael Smith goes ahead of this man, Neil Tressler, top performer on the ovals, very consistent and fast driver on the ovals, took second in the Oval Championship a couple of seasons ago. The cars have a separate cup contested on the 1.5 mile oval at Rockingham, but we're very focused on our circuit racing here at the moment. You can see Paul Tompkins in the number 12 truck making progress as well. Pete Stevens has another go. Classic manoeuvre here at Brands Hatch, up into Surtees, and Paul Tompkins follows through as well. Tressler doesn't look happy. I wonder if that was down to that clash that we had. He's lost a lot of ground, so Neil Tressler was hoping for good things this weekend. On board with Michael Smith, looking at the back of Paul Jones's truck, PR Jones back machine, self-employed man from Surrey. And Michael Smith goes sailing past. Michael running one of the 2.3 engines using the Ford Ranger. And Paul Poulter, the two guys that clashed on track on lap one, going into the pits. Let's hope that they can rejoin. The speed they're going in suggests to me that they probably might not rejoin, but there is David O'Regan in the darker blue car number 8. So much happening, I can't tell you about the championship. We've mentioned the reverse grids. This is the first year we've had an officially recognised separate class for the 2 litre cars. Basically you can use a 2.3 litre Ford Ranger or General Motors engine, or if you're running the 2 litre General Motors engine, now it's a separate class, Pro 2, the top class known as Pro 1. So the drivers we probably need to look out for in Pro 2, Paul Jones, Mel Collins, James Goldstraw, Dave Weaver, Paul Poulter running in Pro 2 as well. Up across the line they go once again. Charlie Weaver still there, but it's Anthony Hawkins now out front from Michael Smith. Anthony, a bit of a veteran in the championship, 9th in terms of career points. We've had many drivers race pickups over the long history. 23,000 points. If he stays where he is, then he'll break the 24,000 point barrier. Michael Smith, 40,335 points in his career. And the top driver, having scored exactly 41,000 points coming into this meeting, is Phil White in the 63 truck. So we'll probably see Phil during the course of the programme. That's Pete Stevens coming under pressure at the moment from Paul Tompkins. Both of them who started off racing on the short ovals, a couple of decades between the start dates, I have to say. And here's another ex-short oval driver, David O'Regan, down the inside. The Irishman very hotly tipped for a championship this year. O'Regan in the blue number 8, the car prepared by Michael Smith's team. So when he comes up to look at the blue sky, fantastic weather for the start of the season. Into Druids we go, and Michael Smith coming under pressure from Pete Stevens. Pete in number 4, the Surtec car, another former champion. Now, if you're in a 2.3 litre car and you get in the top 3, you get ballast added on, 30 kilos for first, 20 for second, 10 for third place. And if you carry on being successful on the podium, you get more added, up to a total of 70 kilos. So there is ballasting, a bit like touring cars. 69 is Lee Rogers, the Devon-based driver. 72 goes up the inside. That's James Goldstraw. James, 36-year-old from Thatcham in Berkshire, trying to go up the inside of Dave Weaver. Truck number 88. Dave running in the Pro 2 class, as is James Goldstraw. Probably a great way to get into the class. It'll start down towards the back end of it. You can see Anthony Hawkins still out front in white, and then the blue truck of Michael Smith in second position. Then the white machine, the Surtec truck in front of us, has a spin there for Dave Weaver. His brother Charlie started on pole position, and Dave takes a gyration. I think he'll probably rejoin. So Pete Stevens starting to put a bit of pressure on. Knows Brands Hatch very well. Raced back in the day in the legendary Thunder Saloons Championship with a Vauxhall Senator, and thrilled the fans. He sort of concluded here at Brands Hatch and took a few years away from racing after that. He was a major star on the short circuits in National Hot Rod Racing, and then did circuit racing. And O'Regan looks up the inside of Pete Stevens at Paddock Hill Bend. O'Regan is through the Irishman, passes the Midlander. Paul Tompkins is in 5th position. Then there's a little bit of a gap back, but it's still Anthony Hawkins out front. Side by side they go. O'Regan is being challenged back by Pete Stevens, who clatters into as they come down into Graham Hill Bend and grabs the position back. Paul Tompkins is there as well in the number 12, another Berkshire-based driver. He's on the outside, but David O'Regan's going to have the run down into Surtees. Well, the three of them really vying for position. This is so close and typical of pickup truck racing. If you're wondering where some key names were from last year, Nick Grindrod and last year's champion Steve Dance both are going to do selected rounds this year, but they're not mounting serious championship challenges, and they're not here racing this weekend. And it really has, with absolutely no disrespect to Steve or Nick, it's really opened things up, and we're seeing some new names up on the podium slots. Anthony Hawkins there, he's been on the podium before, he's never won a pickup truck race, but he's leading this one by merit, absolutely, fending off the chasing pack. And here's the second pack of drivers coming down into Graham Hill Bend. At the moment it looks like Phil White is ahead of these guys. They're on board with Lee Rogers, one of the teams that really get the spirit of pickup truck. They have a great time. This year sponsored by Linex. Let's see whether he can pass Paul Jones for the lead of Pro 2. Join us after the break. Welcome back to Brands Hatch, round one of the 2013 Pickup Truck Racing Championship. On board with Lee Rogers, vying for the lead of the Pro 2 category, and it's Paul Jones in front, Pickup's PR man. PR because he's got PR Jones on, he doesn't do the press releases. Plenty of those coming out of the Rogers team. Lee's spotter Dean will be busy tweeting from the gallery here at Brands Hatch as the race continues. A terrific fun team, as we said, in this championship. There is Phil White, the most successful driver in pickup truck racing, black 63, and Lee Rogers has got the inside line coming down Graham Hill Bend. Paul Jones is going to try and go across. This is for the class lead, and Rog goes through. Paul Jones has been rogered on the straight, he goes through. There is David O'Regan still ahead of Pete Stevens in truck number 4. Paul Tompkins can't seem to do anything about them at the moment, and out front Anthony Hawkins. This is a blinding drive from Ant. Back on board we go with Lee Rogers, Phil White for company up front, both ex-Hot Rod drivers. Hot Rod's the non-contact saloons that run on the short ovals, and Lee ran in the West Country predominantly, but now coming under pressure from James Goldstraw. So James challenging for the lead of the class as well. There is Anthony Hawkins from Michael Smith, back up at the sharp end, David O'Regan in third. This potentially might take the pressure off Ant up front, because we've got two teammates squabbling over second and third. Michael Smith prepares David O'Regan's truck, and then we've got Pete Stevens in the white 4, Paul Tompkins in 5th, those 5 at the moment getting 3. Phil White's running 6 in Pro 1 for the 2.3 litre trucks. Now David O'Regan having a good go. Michael Smith takes to the inside line, O'Regan looks outside. Let's see whether he can get past his teammate Smith, the man from Hartlepool, and O'Regan's drawn level round the outside as they come down to Paddock Hill Bend. Let's see whether he can get it done. Well, we're going to dip back down the order just a moment. It looks like Lee Rogers is still there with James Goldstraw for company. Up ahead of them, Charlie Weaver in one of the Pro 1 trucks, truck number 20. So this is still the battle for the lead in class. They come into Druids up the inside. Goldstraw goes up, Weaver spins, and Rogers doesn't get involved in. Well, he didn't hit him to start with, and just gave him a little nudge. I think he thought he was going to go away, and that is the class lead gone for Lee Rogers. Let's hope that he can get back on track. Meanwhile, this is the scrap for second. Hawkins goes through in white. Michael Smith still there, in towards the closing stages of this pickup truck race. David O'Regan, last time he went to go for the outside line, clearly it didn't work for him. Down to the pit wall, he's chasing his teammate. Barely a quarter of a truck length between the two. O'Regan goes slightly wider into Paddock. He'll look for the cut back on the inside. Whether Smith will give him room or not remains to be seen. No, he doesn't. O'Regan back to the outside, tries to draw level. If he can brave it out here, he'll have the inside run down towards Graham Hill Bend. He's hanging on, but he can't quite do it. He's off onto the runoff area. And now Pete Stevens is coming up as well in the white truck. Paul Tompkins looking hard on behind to try and see whether he can work out a way through. At the moment he's keeping a watching brief. O'Regan pulls away along the straight from Pete Stevens up into Surtees. Stevens has been quick there. We've seen him effect a couple of passes on that point of the track. Here is Anthony Hawkins though the driver from Sutton Coldfield, looking for his first ever pickup truck win. He had to fight to get up to the front in the early stages, and he's pulling away from the scrap for second. The two teammates are not helping each other here. It's probably team owner and customer actually to put the relationship into better perspective, but Michael Smith's still there for second at the moment. You can see him looking across to his mirrors. Now where is the number 8 car? And he's squeezed up the inside. David O'Regan goes through, and Pete Stevens is looking round the outside. Michael Smith down to third. Is he going to hang on to third place, or is Pete Stevens going to go through? Smithy, I think, was thinking about trying to go back into second place rather than defending. There is Paul Jones. He leads the Pro 2 category at the moment from James Goldstraw. James has done a few pickup truck races, and I think classified as a rookie for this year. If you've done less than 5 events, you can come into the championship and contest the rookie class, which is a wonderful thing to do. And of course, if you're in the Pro 2s, there's that category to win as well. There's plenty to race for in the pickup truck championship. So Michael Smith, as we can see, has lost out a little bit now to his teammate David O'Regan, slightly the younger man, chasing Anthony Hawkins at the moment, and Pete Stevens looking around the outside. Paul Tompkins is coming up into the mix as well, gets a big sideways moment on there. His pickup's not the drifting championship. Tompkins looks down the inside of Stevens, a little bit too far back to do anything there for the number 12 truck, but having a very good go. This is very competitive between the top 5. Remember, the top 3 will carry ballast into race 2, so Anthony Hawkins is going to have a lot more weight to carry round, and that of course will necessitate changes in setup to the trucks afterwards. Underneath these truck bodies, it's a space frame chassis designed, engineered and built by SHP Engineering in Ely in Cambridgeshire. And look at the battle for fourth. Up the inside now goes Paul Tompkins, but Pete Stevens is trying to hang on round the outside at Paddock Hill Bend. Pete knows all the tricks in the book here at Brands Hatch, and that's why he slots back down the inside. Has he got a better run? He has. He squeezes back. Truck 4 goes back into 4th position and still not too far behind Michael Smith. On board with Michael down through Graham Hill Bend. He's the leader of those 3 trucks that we're looking at. That's 3rd, 4th and 5th position in the race. The penultimate lap of the race, with Anthony Hawkins still out front, who is looking to me like, barring any problems with potential back markers or mechanical problems, could be on for his first win. He's got a good lead over David O'Regan. O'Regan himself has only had 2 podiums before, including 1 win at Rockingham, so David O'Regan has stepped up to the plate this year. Make no mistake about that. We're seeing some new names coming to the fore, and that I think is probably going to encourage drivers that are looking at the championship to think, you know what, we could probably come in here and make a little bit of an impact and pick up a few points and pots. Down the inside again for 4th position, Paul Tompkins fighting hard. Well, he was an ex-Banger world champion. There's been absolutely no forced contact in his racing as well. He's switched codes superbly the last couple of seasons. Gets bundled out onto the dirt slightly by Pete Stevens. I'm sure they'll agree that was clean racing. But on board with David O'Regan. He's catching Ant Hawkins. Back markers coming up as well. O'Regan's caught Ant now. Can Ant get the run to the flag? O'Regan's chasing him, but it looks to me like it's going to be one career win apiece between these 2, because Hawkins crosses the line. It's a first win for Anthony Hawkins. Congratulations, Ant. David O'Regan second. Michael Smith gets his 55th career podium in pickup trucks. Incredible stuff. Great race. Anthony Hawkins does a little bit of showboating there to celebrate his first ever pickup truck win. Such a great result for the team. Anthony wins it. David O'Regan second. He gets the fastest lap as well. Then it was Michael Smith from Pete Stevens and Paul Tompkins. Phil White 6. Paul Jones wins Pro 2. Then it was Mel Collins and Lee Rogers. Charlie Weaver, James Goldstraw 11th. 3 non-finishers, confirmation of that fastest lap for David O'Regan.
Anthony Hawkins, what a fantastic first race of the season and a win. You must be delighted.
Yeah, over the moon. Perfect start, really, wasn't it? So yeah, really good. A little bit airy into Graham Hill Bend in the first corner, where we were sort of 3 or 4 trucks trying to get into there, but worked out for me. So managed to get in front and just hold the gap. Really, wasn't easy, but it was hard work. But really happy. The guys have worked really hard over the winter. Done quite a lot to the truck, which has clearly paid off.
There's some great wheel-to-wheel racing in the earlier laps. Was it quite difficult once you got into the lead to keep it under control.
Yeah, definitely. It was trying not to overcook it and get too excited. Jeff, the spotter, was saying, don't wear it out, take your time, it's a long way to go. So worked really, really well, yeah.
Well done, Anthony. Fantastic win. Let's hope for another one in race 2.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot.
David O'Regan, fantastic race out there. 2nd place. You happy with that?
Well, happy, yeah. Delighted with it. Some traffic though.
Well, in terms of the wheel-to-wheel out there, it was a little bit close at times. Were you expecting that in the first race of the year?
I always expect our pickups. They say rubbing is racing. That's what it is. You see that for yourselves.
So are you able to push a little bit further for the win in the 2nd race later?
I'm going to try. That's all I can say.
Good on you, mate. Well done.
Yeah, thanks very much. Thank you.
Michael Smith, 3rd position, a very, very close race.
Yeah, very, very hard race too. I had real problems going out with clayways. I just couldn't get the car to drive out. So I was blocking as much as I could. Probably a lot more than people would have liked, I think. But it was hard work, but I enjoyed it.
Does that mean you're going to be working hard to change some of the setup for race 2, or are you not quite sure what the problem is?
Yeah, we'll have to alter it a little bit. Either that or I won't be fit enough to last another race.
So as the first race of the season goes, are you happy with the way things went?
Yeah, definitely. It's nice to be on the podium. It's a good start. Just keep going from here onwards and upwards, hopefully.
Okay, well, we'll look out for you in the 2nd race. Well done.
Cheers, thank you.
So down in the pit lane with Paul Tompkins. This 2013 campaign, is this going to be a strong one for you, do you think?
I hope so. We're going to give it our all. Just hope it all comes right.
And in the off-season, has the truck been running quite well, or has there not been much of an opportunity to test?
Well, we completely stripped the truck after last year, right down to the chassis, and then built it again from the bottom up. We've done a couple of track days, but obviously the weather, we've had a few good meetings in the wet, so we've got a good wet setup, but we haven't yet got a dry setup, so today hopefully we get a good dry setup.
So with Paul Jones, the number 82. Paul, this first weekend of the championship at Brands, is it going to be an exciting one?
Well, yeah, it's going to be very exciting for us because we're just learning. We've done our first year last year and we won the rookie championship, and now it's serious stuff, you know. Okay, we got Pro 2. We won the Pro 2 this on the first race there. So we're happy with that, but it's going to be really difficult for us to keep there, you know. Them guys are still fast, and you know, we're looking forward to it, like, you know.
Are we looking for a top 6 overall in race 2?
Yeah, I want to kind of get a few more places, you know. I want to try and keep up with the Pro 1 guys a little bit more this time, but they seem to be disappearing, and but we're going to have a go. We're going to push it.
Good man. Enjoy race 2.
Thank you very much.
So with the number 74, Paul Poulter. Paul, going into 2013, are you quite optimistic for the season ahead?
Yeah, looking forward to the Rockingham Ovals. Obviously, size me, I'm a bit of a disadvantage with the circuits, but we still run. We pick up a few positions and hold tight for the championship. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Now, your performances in Rockingham in the past have sent you on to the NASCAR Truck Series in America. Is that a completely different ballpark to this?
Yeah, it's totally different to the circuit racing we do over here. Yeah, it's 200 laps a race versus 16. I learnt the drafting and learnt a lot about all the tricks and the cons over there, but yeah, it's really good.
The qualifying pace suggests that it's going to be very close to see who's the fastest overall. Do you think that you can get yourself in there for the championship this year?
I'd like to, depending if we can run well at Rockingham. Yeah, I'd like to think we could get second or third in the championship. I don't think we'll be up for winning it, but we'll be there or thereabouts.
Well, we hope for the best for you this year, Paul. Good luck.
Okay, thank you. Cheers. Bye-bye.
So chatting to Lee Rogers after race 1. Lee, was that a bit of fun out there?
It was definitely interesting, yeah. I think we went quite well. We had a little problem towards the end of the race where I got tangled up with some people crashing into each other, which sort of ruined it for us a little bit. But the car still feels okay. I think we'll be okay for the second race, which we're off the front for that one, so should be all right.
So is that going to be quite a challenge when you know that there's going to be a pack of dogs snapping at your heels?
It always is with pickup truck racing. Yeah, it's not over until that flag's out and you're back parked up in the pits. So you've got to keep your wits about you at all times.
Now, obviously, it is wheel to wheel out there with the drivers, but there's an awful lot of respect and camaraderie between you all, isn't there?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, a lot of us have been doing it for a while now. There's a few new boys in there. A couple get excited like anyone does in a racing situation, but generally, yeah, it's fairly good. Yeah.
Well, as you said, you're starting at the front. Are we likely to be chatting to you again at the end of race 2?
Always nice to think that, but I think probably the Pro 1 boys will come through and beat us back a little bit, but we'll give it a go. We'll see what we can do.
That's the right attitude. Good man. Have a good one.
Thank you very much.
Mel, this is a very exciting start to the season for the Brands Hatch, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the first race for us and the first race for the pickup trucks as well.
So are you kind of in the middle of no man's land trying to get yourself up to speed?
Yeah, we've got a big learning curve in front of us, so we'll just see how it goes, yeah.
Well, qualifying yesterday was very close and you were part of the mix of cars within about a second and a half of each other. Does that put you in good stead for the rest of the weekend?
Well, I think hopefully we've got a few niggles with the car, had a misfire yesterday and a steering problem, so we'll just see how it goes.
And what's the racecraft like when it's wheel to wheel, door to door?
Push, shove and rub a little bit, I think. No, in seriousness, it's everybody out there's they know what they're doing, they're good drivers, so it's just give each other a bit of room and respect each other.
That was an interesting first race for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, we sort of didn't finish building it until Friday, so we're sort of doing a bit of a test day today, really. So, but yeah, we're getting there.
The quality of the grid is absolutely phenomenal, isn't it?
Oh no, it's absolutely brilliant. It's sort of like door to door. Yeah, it's brilliant. It's really close racing. We're here to sort of like have a go to be at the front, but you know, a bit of a test session as well. So we're getting amongst it.
Charlie's wiping the floor with you at the moment, is he?
Yeah, he's been doing a bit longer than me. So
fair play. We hope to see you out there for a good result in race 2.
All right, cheers.
Dave Weaver wrapping up the interviews. It's Lee Rogers. We've always said he's a bit of a media tart. He loves pole positions when he starts, when the TV cameras are here, and he's done it again. Paul Jones is alongside in 82. Here's the view from the inside. James Goldstraw in 72. Rest of the field get off the line well. Nice to see Mel Collins in the green car at the back of the grid. 34-year-old from Peterborough, Mel, so welcome to the championship. Hopefully a full year. Ex-Carter. Did some motocross before that, and we won't mention the 2CV racing that he did. So the truck's coming up to Druids on their rolling lap. Rolling starts for pickups, and it's the Linex machine of 69. Lee Rogers, who starts on pole position. Qualified 10th in the second qualifying session. 9th was Paul Jones, he starts alongside. Then it's James Goldstraw and Paul Tompkins. Anthony Hawkins, race 1 winner 5th. Then David O'Regan, Michael Smith and Pete Stevens, row 4. Paul Poulter and Charlie Weaver, row 5. Followed by Dave Weaver, Phil White and Mel Collins. And don't forget, the top 3 from race 1 have additional ballast to carry. Anthony Hawkins with 30 kg. David O'Regan gets 20 and Michael Smith gets 10, so they've had to work the trucks around that. It might slow them down a tad and maybe we'll see different drivers on the podium. Stuart Bradburn driving the pace car, pulls off into pit lane. He'll be happy with the mention. He always asks if he gets a mention. He did today, and we're on board with Lee Rogers down into Paddock Hill Bend for the first time. The race is underway. Paul Jones on the outside line against Lee Rogers. These two were racing hard for Pro 2 honours in race number 1. And Rog looks like he's got the line at the moment. We'll look to the outside. Paul Jones in blue. Up comes Paul Tompkins in 3rd place, and already in the mix is car number 8, David O'Regan, who's coming through. Anthony Hawkins is there as well. This is very frantic racing. The Linex truck gets passed by Paul Tompkins. Oh, there's contact! David O'Regan gets into the side. Just the lightest touch on Lee Rogers, who goes around and does a pirouette. Hopefully Lee will be able to rejoin, but what a disappointing meeting for him. Couple of bits of contact, see him disappearing out the race, and he's not a driver that dishes out that sort of treatment himself. Oh, Pete Stevens has gone as well. Now, what the clerk of the course is going to have to say about all this contact on lap 1 remains to be seen. But there is that old pickup adage: if you ain't rubbing, you ain't racing. I think there's slightly more than rubbing going on there. But now things, as we go on to lap 2, starting to sort themselves out. David O'Regan running second. Paul Tompkins the leader. There's O'Regan. Looks like he could be on for another podium here. And a great scrap going on for third place. Michael Smith already up into the top 3 and trying to get past Paul Poulter. Car 74. Paul Poulter, the highest rated driver in terms of career wins racing with us this weekend, 19. And those predominantly the Rockingham Oval. And he's running, remember, in Pro 2. So perhaps won't stand as much of a chance running against the 2.3 litre boys up front. So Paul Poulter is leading Pro 2 for the 2 litre cars at the moment. Back down the order, Phil White goes through. There is Anthony Hawkins dicing with Paul Jones. The white truck, the winner of race number 1, his first ever career win. Anthony, a very consistent driver, I've got to say. Many times on the podium and very well respected. A terrific start to the season, and he nips up the inside of Charlie Weaver in truck number 20. His brother Dave there in 88 as well. They come down Graham Hill Bend. Now they're going to have to be careful of the runoff here. Most other formulas keep getting continual warnings about the runoffs, but the pickup truck drivers seem to understand that. We never really seem to. I've never seen a warning about drivers using too much of the runoff. There's Mel Collins in the green truck, so he's up ahead of Paul Jones at the moment in 82. Spent a fair bit of time watching Paul racing very successfully in 2 litre short circuit hot rods. Very able competitor, and he's made the switch to pickup truck racing very well as David O'Regan goes for the lead up into Druids, inside line. Is he going to hang on to it? Yes, he does. O'Regan's through. Paul Tompkins, who we heard in the interviews with Jake, was saying that most of the running they did over the winter was limited to the wet, but he seems to have found a good dry setup. Still running in second. Immaculate inside of Tompkins' truck. And David O'Regan with 1 career win to his name so far. That was at Rockingham last year. Angling free, so he wasn't too far away from winning the race in race number 1. Anthony Hawkins held him off, but O'Regan with 2 podiums now, 2 career podiums, and really, I've got to say, pickup truck racing, it is one that rewards those who stick with it, and a lot of drivers have got a lot of experience, so it takes a fair bit of getting used to. O'Regan, a relative newcomer though, he's proved that you can grab podium points and wins reasonably quickly. He's looking for his 2nd win at the moment. So, in actual fact, it was David's 3rd podium in race number 2, 3rd career podium, so he's looking to add to that. Virtually 1/3 distance here in the pickup trucks. James Goldstraw in 72, still leading Anthony Hawkins and Phil White, so it's the Pro 2 truck who drifts a little bit wide. Anthony Hawkins goes up the inside. Phil White in 63 is down behind him and looking up the inside line as well. Here they come, so the 2.3 litre trucks make their way past the Pro 2. So the Pro 1s making good progress through the field. And remember, the top 10 get reversed on the grids. There is Paul Tompkins running in 2nd place at the moment. Michael Smith is 3rd. So the pickup truck championship tends not to be about the number of overall wins you get. It's 200 points for a win, and then you drop 5 points for each place under that. So 2nd position is 195, 3rd 190, and so on and so forth. There are also extra points to be garnered from qualifying. The top drivers in qualifying get points, and that's the reward for switching the grids. A lot of people say, what's the point in getting the fastest qualifying time if you're going to be switched down to 10th on the grid? But the answer is you get points for it as well, and all of those significant for the championship. Both of the last 2 seasons at least have gone down to, and off goes Dave Weaver. Oh, that's disappointing. Let's hope that Dave can maybe get a finish. Shame to see him off, but again, a driver that's building his experience in pickup truck racing, so he'll come back for a little bit more as we continue to watch David O'Regan, the Irishman, out front. As I've said, the championship the last couple of years has literally come down to 5 or 6 points, so the points that you get from qualifying, absolutely crucial. And the other thing that's very important in pickup truck racing is to finish all the races, because it's 200 for a win, you get absolutely zilch for a non-finish. So the drivers who are looking at having had non-finishes are going to have a lot of work to do. Paul Poulter non-finished in race 1 along with Dave Weaver and Neil Tressler. So it is possible to win a championship with non-finishes, but you really need to keep it to a minimum, and particularly at this stage of the season it takes a great deal of confidence to overcome that. So David O'Regan still out front, significantly not being lost at the moment by Paul Tompkins. Tompkins finished in 5th position in race number 1. Is he going to get on the podium in this one? Join us after the break to see. Welcome back to Brands Hatch. We're looking at Mel Collins and Paul Jones fighting it out in the Pro 2 class, but this is the view from the race leader, David O'Regan, looking for his 2nd career win. Down behind him is Paul Tompkins. Paul with 10 podia to his credit career-wise. That's a pretty short career so far in pickups, and he's adapted so quickly, and there he is in 2nd position chasing David O'Regan. O'Regan though with 20 kilos on after the first race. 10 kilos is the amount added to Michael Smith's truck in 3rd place, and he's the chaser. The top 3, it was 5 trucks effectively together in race number 1. That's been whittled down to 3 in this race, and O'Regan comes out of Druids down Graham Hill Bend. We're going to drop back a little bit further down the order. Phil White, James Goldstraw in 72, and Pete Stevens, very neat move up the inside for Pete. We saw have a turnaround earlier on. Normally we see Pete a little bit further up the front. And now Paul Tompkins having a go for the lead. Tompkins looks up the inside as he come out of clearways. It was a much tighter run in and exit, and he might lose a bit of momentum, but he seems to be hanging on to the back end of the number 8 truck at the moment, into half distance of the race. Race 2 of the 2013 championship. O'Regan, Tompkins, Smith cross the line into paddock. Smith has a little bit of a lock up there as he goes down into Paddock Hill Bend. An absolutely awesome corner. It really does fall away. I urge you to maybe do an MSV track day, or if you're lucky enough to get a ride round in a race car. It's an incredible corner. It's great as a passenger. It's probably even better as a driver. Down into Graham Hill Bend. Along Cooper Straight we go again. Wide line there. Again, the driver's keeping the 2 outside wheels as the only ones going over the curbs. So it's great driving standards from the pickups. Into clearways again. This is where we saw the chasing truck go a little bit quicker last time around. Tompkins keeps it tidier this time. Might be working up some momentum. It might take a pass, could sometimes be worked out over a couple of laps, momentum building up. You can see on the windscreen there, 10 kilos. That's sideways for Phil White in 63. He was under big pressure from James Goldstraw. Got it all sideways. To be fair to him, he collected it up, loses a place. So James Goldstraw goes through ahead of Phil White. It's still Paul Poulter leading Pro 2. So the 2 classes that we're trying to keep an eye on, it's made the pickup trucks, which were always brilliant racing anyway, it's given us so much more to look at as well, having the 2 classes to consider. So this is the 3rd place truck. Michael Smith, the blue and white 93, starting to put pressure on Paul Tompkins, and through on the inside. There's a little bit of contact between the 2 of them. Michael Smith tries to barge through. He might have felt that was a little bit unfair and drops back. This is great news for David O'Regan, who's going to start to pull away. Look at the gap that O'Regan extends over Paul Tompkins in 2nd position. Michael Smith was trying to force his way up the inside. There is Paul Jones, so I think he's going to emerge with the points lead in Pro 2 after this meeting. But at the front, O'Regan seems to have been reeled in again. You can see the 20 kilo sticker on the windscreen. It's a great way of informing the crowds here as to how much ballast the guys have on board, so we can see which ones are being handicapped. There is 63 Phil White, as we said, the top scorer, top career scorer. The most number of wins incidentally in pickups. Nick Grindrod and Gavin Seeger shared with 53, both former champions. Sideways Paul Tompkins, and that's going to leave the door open. Surely that's going to have scrubbed off speed, and Michael Smith looks up the inside in blue and white. I think he's going to go through. There he is. He's got his nose in front. In fact, he's got the whole truck in front now. 2nd position to Michael Smith. So the 2 teammates, 1st and 2nd. There is Paul Jones through on the inside of Phil White to take 8th place. Paul running 3rd at the moment in Pro 2. Pro 2 still led by Paul Poulter from James Goldstraw. We're not seeing those in shot at the moment because we're rightly focused on what looks like a battle for 2nd. Anthony Hawkins goes through and past Paul Poulter. Then I think it's Pete Stevens down behind them. So Poulter therefore in 5th position. Anthony Hawkins up into 4th, so it's been a good drive with 30 kilos on. Michael Smith still chasing hard. Let's see whether he can close in on David O'Regan. The fastest man on track is actually Pete Stevens. After that contact, I think the determination kicked in. It'll be his 8th career fastest lap if that's the case, a 52.011. That's actually the fastest lap of the meeting so far for Pete Stevens. But back with the race leader, David O'Regan. Is he going to make it career win number 2? And significantly a first circuit win, getting away from the big ovals. There is Lee Rogers, who's rejoined. He's running 5th in Pro 2 at the moment. He's got to try and close down on Mel Collins to grab the Pro 2 points. At the moment, looking at the inside line of 63 Phil White, which he does. So the Line-X truck goes through, makes up a position. Lee seems to be having a good recovery. It was excellent that he was able to rejoin the race, and he's been working hard. Best lap of 52.9, so he's actually running faster than Mel Collins at the moment. We'll see whether he can catch him before the end of the race. But the race leaders are on the penultimate lap, and it's still David O'Regan out front. Michael Smith is second. O'Regan's the faster of the two, a best of 52.1 on lap 5. Michael Smith with 52.3, so not a lot in it. That was on lap 6, incidentally, so the two teammates running well. And of course Michael Smith wants to grab the win. Here we go back down the order. 72 James Goldstraw and Paul Jones fighting it out for second in Pro 2. And Jones looks down the outside line. Inside as they come out of the hairpin. Converts to the outside at Graham Hill Bend, but Goldstraw knows his racecraft. Hangs on in there. Dave Weaver has rejoined, which is good news in 88. So Dave at the moment a back marker. As onto the last lap goes David O'Regan. A good lead for him. Now we saw this sort of lead negated over the last lap when Anthony Hawkins took race 1. Paul Poulter challenging Pete Stevens for 5th place. Pete's in 5th at the moment. Poulter's challenging him but leading Pro 2. Back on board with Michael Smith. Changes up as they come out of Druids. Down Graham Hill, into Graham Hill Bend for the last time and along Cooper Straight. Next stop will be the next slowdown point will be the left-hander at Surtees, which is where the Irishman is now. And it looks like the second race of the season is going to go across to Southern Ireland. It's David O'Regan. What a fantastic weekend for him. O'Regan, here he comes along Clark Curve onto the Brabham Straight. He'll see the checkered flag. David O'Regan wins. It's career win number 2, his first circuit win. Michael Smith takes second. Paul Tompkins is third. They'll all pick up ballast at the next round. Well, down in victory lane, and David O'Regan gets the thumbs up from multiple motor racing champion Barry Lee there, who I think is going to present the trophies for us. Barbara Howard, the wife of pickup truck racing Sonny Howard, there as well. David O'Regan takes the win from Michael Smith. Paul Tompkins in 3rd place ahead of Anthony Hawkins and Pete Stevens. Paul Poulter wins Pro 2 from James Goldstraw and Paul Jones. Phil White is 9th from Mel Collins, and Lee Rogers in 11th place. The fastest lap of the race going to Pete Stevens. So Barry Lee gives the garland of victory and the trophy to David O'Regan here for round 2 of the Pickup Truck Championship at Brands Hatch.
Well, David O'Regan, fantastic victory. You must be absolutely thrilled.
I don't know, I'm speechless. I just couldn't believe what I did. Just happy.
Some great work early in the race to put you into that position. Is that what made the race for you?
Well, it really is the start is what makes it. If you get a good start and you get through the pack and pick your place, it eventually settles down and then you got to go. So it's up to the start, really.
You had so much pressure to deal with. Did you think realistically that you could hang on to it?
It was touch and go at times. I mean, I could see him racing behind me, and two trucks had so much pace that I didn't know the truck went off a bit in the middle, so I wasn't sure was I going to be able to hold it or not, to be honest, to tell you the truth.
Well, congratulations. Enjoy the moment. You've earned it.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you.
So 2nd place, Michael Smith. Michael, you've worked very hard today. You're absolutely exhausted. Are you a bit frustrated?
Just a little bit. I've got my own teammate beat me now. It's not quite good, right? But we'll keep plugging away, and hopefully we'll get there in the end.
I suppose the positive thing from that race is it was very close. It was nip and tuck all the way.
Oh yeah, it was a really good race. I mean, I just managed to get Paul with a few laps to go. Give me a couple of laps to have a go at David, but just maybe he's run out of laps a little bit. I think his car was going off towards the end, and man seemed to be coming on a little bit stronger. So maybe just a couple of more laps, we might have to go, but we'll take second.
A win's coming next time, perhaps?
Yeah, keep fingers crossed, keep trying.
Good man, Michael, well done.
Cheers, thank you.
So, Paul, third position. There was a thrilling fight through the last few laps. You happy with that?
No, it should have been first, but we've got to build on it. We keep going. We've got to stop them too.
Well, over the course of the race, you were making really steady progress and really improving your pace. Is that something that you've been working on over the last couple of sessions?
Yeah, but the car, we still didn't get it quite right. The car started going off again at the end, so we just make a few changes for the next meeting, and then we should be somewhere about it, I reckon.
So there might be a few wins for you later in the season?
I hope so, yeah.
Well done, Paul. Congratulations.
Thank you.
David O'Regan leads the championship with Michael Smith second and Anthony Hawkins third. Pete Stevens is fourth. Then it's Paul Tompkins with Paul Jones leading Pro 2. Phil White seventh. Then it's James Goldstraw and Mel Collins.
Well, that's all from the British Pickup Racing here at Brands Hatch. We'll catch up with the boys later in the season. From all of us here, see you soon.
In our next show here on Last Lap, we stay at Brands Hatch and on the Indy circuit for the second event of the 2013 National Legends Cars Championship. Join us then.